Melika. It's always good to see you, ma'am. I've run into you a couple times. Councilmember Wilford, Councilmember Goff, Councilmember Peterson, Councilmember Brown, and Councilmember Escobar. Thank you very much for giving me this space. So in my capacity as Denver Metro Regional Director, I'd love nothing more than to be a point of contact for you at the Senate office. I'm sure your contacts extend, far and vast. And so anything that I can do out of Senator Hickenlooper's office, anything you need at the federal level, I'll leave you my cell phone number so that you can contact me day or night. I'm 24/7. So just consider me your friend over in the Senate office who can help you out with absolutely anything I might be able to take care of for you. So this evening for my legislative update, I'd like to provide kind of a rundown of what we're looking at with the American Rescue Plan. Basically the top line for you, council members and mayor, is that $6 billion is going directly to the state and local businesses as a result of the ARP. And so then for the city of Northland in particular, I'm sure as you're all aware, city of Northland is directly receiving $7.69 million. That's million with an M. For what it's worth, Adams County is receiving $100 million. You might remember me from my time at Adams County, if my name sounds somewhat familiar. So I wanted to sneak in that little Adams County piece. And so then if your next question probably is, how exactly can we spend this money? Unfortunately, the Treasury is still, devising its spending guidelines. And so please text me, call me, bug me about this. It's impossible to annoy me. My job is outreach. So here I am reaching out. So I wanted to kind of go down this, the big things that are, in this gigantic stimulus package. So, you can kind of look at it in terms of 5 different categories: help for schools, help for children, help for the unemployed, help with rent and food, and help for small businesses. So I apologize if I'm going to, vomit all of this information, but I wanted to go down and kind of provide you some of the most important stuff as you make this important policy for the people of Northglenn. So for schools, here in Colorado, and these are all Colorado-specific numbers, we have $1.2 billion allocated for K through 12, schools to reopen safely, and so there's all sorts of monies in there for different line items. And so please feel free to ask more about that if you have questions. Unfortunately, it's my 3rd week on the job, a little green around the ears. However, anything I can't answer, I will answer, at a later date. So I'll follow up with you, and I'll be very diligent. So $1.2 billion for K through 12, $495 million for higher education. So for any community colleges in the area, that money is going to them. When it comes to children, Senator Bennett was a huge champion on this issue. So certainly hats off to him. He, made sure to expand the child tax credit from, so for working families, they're going to see $250 to $300 a month extra. As a direct result of the ARP. And this is going to lift 57,000 children in Colorado out of poverty. 57,000, which is absolutely huge for our state, particularly in a state where half of parents can't afford diapers or report not being able to afford diapers. So we're very happy that this got in the bill. Along the lines of helping children inside this bill, specifically for Colorado, we see $466 million for daycares and $10.8 million for Head Start as well. This is important because Colorado ranks in the top 10 nationally for most expensive infant care, $15,000 annually, according to the most recent numbers. When it comes to the unemployed, currently we have 200,000 Coloradans who are unemployed, and they will each receive a 6-month extension through September. And an additional $300 a week. This would have expired last Sunday on March 14th had it not been for the ARP. So we're very excited that Coloradans are going to get more help for longer time moving forward. Again, we have a 6-month time window. There's also a 100% subsidy of COBRA to ensure that they remain on their employer's health insurance. So of course, you lose your job, you still have to pay those $600 a month or so, depending on your situation. We're going to cover all of that. And so then, you're going to get access to the care that you need. Really quickly wrapping up here, support for rent and food is also in here. I had the privilege of working with Mayor Leidy and, leadership during at the height of the pandemic. And so I know, rent and food, we talked a lot about this issue. So there's $300 million for Colorado in rental and utility assistance. Again, important because about 1 in 7 Coloradans report being behind on rent. So huge issue for our state. There's also a 6-month extension of the 15% increase in SNAP benefits. About 500,000 Coloradans benefit from this. So again, we're seeing support from multiple angles here. Council members, I'll leave you with a bit about small business support. Inside of this bill, there's $60 billion in grants and loans for small businesses, including a $25 billion set aside just for restaurants. We're calling that the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. So 86% of Colorado small businesses, and I don't need to tell you this, you plugged into your community more than anybody. And as I'm sure you know, 86% of Colorado small businesses say that they'll go under. They will shut their doors in 6 months if they don't receive any help, if things continue as usual. So we're very excited that this money has been set aside to help business owners who have gone through probably one of the worst periods of their lives. I'm here to help really take any questions you have. Unfortunately, I'm light on details right now. Again, still getting up to speed with the office, but not to say I'm not going to circle back. So I'm happy to field any questions you may have. And again, thank you for letting me be here.
No, we're very happy to have you tonight. I see that Councilmember Brown has a question.
Hi, thank you very much for coming to talk to us tonight. I have a question, and I don't know if it's at a federal level or because I don't feel our state representatives are doing enough to solve the problem. All the fraud that we're currently having, and I know it's not just Colorado with unemployment, people making fraudulent claims. My husband had his identity stolen. I have one resident who has received probably 10 or 12 false unemployment claims from other people. Unemployment sends your letter. Are we going to address that on a federal level, or is that just going to be on a state level?
Yeah, so I think the question, as I'm understanding it, ma'am, is what is the federal government doing about fraud? That is an excellent question that I'm going to have to circle back with you on. I'd hate to pretend to know what I'm talking about here and then just blow smoke. So let me circle back with you on that really important issue. I know anecdotally you're entirely right. With so much different aid going out, fraud, we've seen a gigantic increase in fraud. I know she in Denver has spoken a lot to this, and folks in Northland, of course, are experiencing this as well. So it's an important question with an important answer, and I'll be sure to get that to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And then my other question for you is regarding the 6-month extension on the unemployment. Is that irregardless of when the first chunk that came through from Governor Polis, and then that was extended until May? Is it going to be 6 months on top of that, or is it 6 months through to September?
That one I might be able to answer. So I have that March 14th was the date that unemployment benefits were set to expire. And so it's from that March 14th date that we're talking about a 6-month extension. And so you're not just going to be receiving the same amount of money going forward, you're going to be receiving $300 more. But to answer your question again, it's from March 14th, so we can expect to see that through September 14th.
Thank you. I just want to be able to answer that question correctly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
And any help that you can give us, anybody can give us from a federal level to track down the fraud, because as you know, business owners are penalized through unemployment. Their rates go up if they have, if their percentages of unemployment claims go up. So all these fraudulent claims are, affecting our business people too. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the update. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, you are welcome back anytime. It was good to see you.
Very good to see you. With your permission, I'd like to, maybe I can leave my cell phone number with Rupa. A huge shout out to Rupa. She has been helping me, get plugged into city council and, putting up with where's the link, Rupa? She's like, I sent it to you. So anyway, Rupa, thank you so much. How can I get you my cell phone number? Maybe I can just read that out here if you have a piece of paper handy. So in case you ever want to call or text me, again, there's no bad time to reach out. Just the other night, I got a 9 p.m. text message from a certain commissioner I will not mention. So my cell phone number is 303-550-0437. Again, that's 303-550-0437. And that's, just let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you. I'm the eyes and ears for the senator here in the Denver Metro. Happy to help.
Well, now that you've given it out to all of our residents too, you'll have to let us know how that works on your phone.
I know. If I meet folks at an event, I'll pass out my card. Fortunately, that's my work cell. So anyway, if I get But you're right. You're right. Yeah. Can you tell it's my third week on the job?
That's okay. Thank you again for being here. Have a great night. All right, moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Joanna, is there anyone signed up to speak to council tonight?
Yes, we have one individual, John Algie with the Northglenn Parton Rotary Club. And
good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, John, welcome. How are you?
Doing well, Madam Mayor, considering the events that have occurred today. And I would like to start by offering my thoughts and prayers to our friends and neighbors in Boulder for the tragic events of today. That being said, I'm John Algie. I reside at 4187 East 95th Drive in Thornton. Good evening, Mayor Leidy, Mayor Pro Tem Wilford, members of council and staff. We are now entering, by the way, I am the Sergeant at Arms of the Rotary Club Northland Thornton. Almost forgot to mention that. We are now entering the home stretch of our inaugural virtual food drive. Our fundraising efforts go towards fighting hunger in both Northglenn and Thornton to our 4 agency partners. Our partners in Northglenn are Immaculate Heart of Mary Food Bank and Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church, and in Thornton, Thornton Community Food Bank and Food for Hope. We do thank everyone who has donated to this point. And as of today, we have raised nearly $1,200. And of course, as a club, we will be donating $3,000 as a club. Then also we are finishing up our grant application with the Rotary Foundation for an additional $3,000. So that's nearly $7,200 to this point. There is still time to assist our partners through your donations at www.northglennthorntonrotary.org/donate. Please help us feed our neighbors in need. Our club would like to thank, as a special shout out, the City of Northglenn Communications Department for assisting us in spreading the word of our food drive on 4 separate occasions. Those efforts have made a difference in the level of donations received. And I did share this information with Clerk Small and Development Director Tuttle, so they can get that dispersed appropriately. So thank you all for all you do.
Thanks, John. It was good to hear from you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Take care and be safe.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Joanna, do we have anyone else on the line?
I don't have anybody signed up. I'm not sure if there's anyone on the phone line. I don't see any phone numbers, but we might just pause for a second just to see if anyone wants to unmute themselves and speak.
Okay. Joanna, were there any written comments or voicemails submitted prior to the meeting?
No, there were not.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're moving into communications, and we're really going to go backwards just to throw Corey off. So he's going to start.
I do have one item tonight, thank you, Madam Mayor, and that is a couple of months ago, the City Council adopted an emergency ordinance assessing delivery fees against folks like DoorDash and Grubhub, and that is about to expire. So we were looking for direction on whether to try to keep that in place or not, or at least to whether council's interested in bringing it back for further discussion and potential consideration.
When does that expire, Corey?
It actually expires at the end of this month.
Does council want to weigh in? Councilmember Goff?
I just had a question. Is this something that is being considered at the state level? I kind of have a vague recollection of that being discussed at some point.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I would be interested in, continuing the discussion, possibly bringing it back.
So if we don't have the discussion, it just expires?
Yeah, and it will likely expire, but we can bring it back shortly thereafter.
Okay, I was wondering about the timing of future meetings. Was that your question, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I was just gonna say I would be interested in the discussion.
Does everyone want to talk about it?
Does anybody object to us bringing it back?
That's a good idea. Okay, so Heather, do you want to try? Is that a study session or a discussion item in a regular meeting?
We don't have sorry, there's always a little bit of a pause when my camera goes on. Our next meeting will be April 5th, so I'll schedule it. I'll need to coordinate with Corey in terms of his schedule, but April 5th would be the next meeting and the soonest available meeting for council to discuss this. So we'll shoot for a study session, but if it doesn't work for Corey's schedule, then it would be April 12th and it'd be a discussion item. So either of those.
The 5th works.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. In preparation for that, Corey, is there some data that that you can bring?
I will find out what, much like I did previously, what other of our neighboring communities are doing, and also in response to Councilmember Goff's question, see if I can determine if there's anything being looked at the state level.
Okay. I guess I was wondering if maybe it's Jason. Would he have any financial information to share with us on how it benefited or didn't our city?
Yes, we can look at, I'll have a discussion with staff tomorrow and figure out what data is available and wrap that into what Corey's working on. And so we'll present the most comprehensive information possible to council on the 5th to aid you in your decision making.
Fantastic. Thanks.
That's it this evening for me.
Okay. City Clerk Small.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have one quick item, and it's really just sharing another entity's information. I saw that the Adams County Clerk and Recorder is having a second contest for students to design an I voted sticker. And we all know that the I voted stickers are a really fun part of elections. So it's for students in kindergarten through college. There are a few rules that apply, like the stickers must be nonpartisan. They must include the words I voted or I voted in Adams County. But they'll receive either hand-drawn artwork or digital artwork. And there are prizes, which I think are a great incentive for students. And those include cash, or not cash prizes, but a gift card for different amounts. And then the winners get their stickers used at different elections. So there's a grand prize, a second prize, a third prize. And I think the coolest part this year is that there's a new category that's a Spanish language I voted sticker. And so the same rules apply. The only extra rule for that sticker is that all of the words on the sticker must be in Spanish. That category has the same gift card prize as the grand prize winner for the English language sticker. So I just wanted to put that out there. If any of you know any students in kindergarten through college who want to get involved in the election, if they're under 18, I think it's a great way to get connected with the election before they're able to vote. Or if they're just into artwork, I think it's a super cool way to get their artwork out there. And I think it's fun for voters too to see a little variety other than the standard I voted sticker. So just wanted to share that. And there's more information on the Adams County website. That's adamsvotes.com. So please check that out. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. City Manager Geyer.
In the interest of time, nothing this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Still trying to go backwards. Councilmember Escobar.
I want to ditto Heather's comment. In the essence of time, no comment.
Okay. Councilmember Brown.
You know, this last week was kind of slow. We had our youth commission meeting, which those kids just freaking amaze me. They're wonderful. And then I don't believe that I had anything else at all last week. I did want to mention that I did bite the bullet and get my first vaccine shot. And I went to the Islamic Center, and they were absolutely wonderful about it. but they were wondering if they could get some stickers, like the vote ones that say, I got vaccinated, because they asked me when I was there getting my shot why they didn't get me stickers. So I was wondering if we could get them some, because April 5th is when they do their second clinic. Do you think it's too late?
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. I honestly didn't know that there were stickers. So
Yeah.
I'll Rupa and I will find out. And Rupa, do you know if
I haven't seen those stickers either, but I can reach out to Tri-County Health Department or CDPHE to see if they have stickers they can send us. Because now I want some stickers too.
I know. It was a wonderful experience, as they always are wonderful people. Very quick, no lines, nothing. So I'd like to thank them for putting that together for us, because it was really ran well. Other than that, I don't have anything, Mayor.
Councilmember Downing.
Thank you. It takes me a minute to unmute here. I just have one thing that I wanted to share. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we're going to have the kickoff meeting with the residents of Ward 4, specifically the Deza Estates, to discuss their homes over there. So if anybody's interested in kind of listening in, I've got the contact information that you can listen in on, and be happy to have you there. So the person that's going to facilitate the survey for the area is going to discuss the process. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. I'll try to be brief with them. Last week, the DICE board met. We had two speakers present ideas to us on restorative justice. That was Judge Balehash and also John Perez from Denver. The Anythink Library monthly meeting took place, and a lot of it is just sort of technical behind the scenes work, but they are looking at working with a company called Alt Ethos, which are in order to put together a virtual town square, which, if any of you remember doing Second Life way back when, like I did, it's a virtual environment where patrons can create like an avatar of themselves and go and attend meetings or listen to lectures, or they could rent a space on it, a business or somebody, and they could have a conference, in this virtual space that would be sponsored by the library. So I thought that was pretty cool. Then the CC4CA met and just went through the series of bills that are impacting or might impact the environment, and their own bill, which still doesn't have a bill number yet, is moved along, and it is the one that is called Hazard Mitigation and Resilience Bill, and that's going to try to give raise money through a small fee on people's insurance, normal insurance, to put into a fund that would pay for damages from wildfires or flooding or other climate disasters that were likely caused by greenhouse gas emissions or climate change. And then the other thing, I just did want to also echo Mr. Algie's comments about our friends and neighbors in Boulder, and just that our thoughts and prayers are with them. I have friends who live in Boulder, and so we're just hoping that everyone, we can't hope that everyone is okay, because right now I think we know that some people have been hurt and possibly killed, but our wishes are go out to all of them. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Mullica, I'm going to go ahead and have you go now, and then we'll circle back for Ledge Committee.
All right, perfect. All right, non-Ledge Committee discussion. So I did attend the Metro Denver Regional, Metro Denver Regional Convening on Homelessness meeting last week. The long title there. And it was a really eye-opening presentation. I'm really excited about the work that they proposed. And I feel like because homelessness is a very important issue to this community, the work that MDHI is proposing, got me all excited, to be honest with you. I was like, this is exactly what we needed. A regional approach to address homelessness, and specifically Adams County, from my understanding, would be its own region. So I did reach out to a county commissioner and had a discussion about what are the next steps, because I'm so excited to get to work. So I'm really just overwhelmed with this opportunity. It's something that I know that I've spoken to Heather about a couple of years ago, even. I'm like, we need a regional approach to homelessness. And I really think that this is going to be a great framework to get us moving in the right direction. I did attend the Ralston House virtual gala this last Sunday, which, Ralston House is a child advocacy center for the 1st and 17th judicial districts. And so it's something that's very important, I think, to Northglenn. Joyce Downing was on the board for years. I don't even know how long you were on there for, Joyce. And then I sit on the board now. So I really love that kind of tradition of Northland representation on that board and really supporting this organization. So I really appreciated that opportunity to be part of that. We did have a conversation this morning regarding the N-line fare increase that's going to be happening at the end of the week. So if folks remember, there was a fare promotional program that decreased our fare at the Northglenn 112 station from $5.25 to $3. That promotional program is ending as of Saturday. So unfortunately, from the information from the call that I got this morning, it doesn't seem like there's anything that RTD could do to mitigate that situation. And so really the next steps are going to be what can the cities do in response to that. I want to just stop right there because there's going to be, I think, a robust conversation, at least I'm hoping, from this council, deciding how we're going to move forward with the inline fares. Is there going to be a buy-up option that this council would want to consider? And then, of course, partnering with the city of Thornton to determine the best approach moving forward. So it does seem like that fare is going to increase to $5.25 on Saturday. So, and then also from an RTD accountability standpoint, that's another committee that I was appointed to. I just wanted to quickly touch base. There is, we're finalizing the recommendation currently for sub-regional kind of councils regarding RTD and their service planning. So instead of essentially the process typically has gone now is, service changes have happened and then they seek community feedback and then they're like, okay, board approved. And so we really want to have a more robust local conversation on how RTD is servicing our community. And I really think that the regional councils are going to bring us there. And so I'm excited that this recommendation is being finalized by the committee. And if there's any other updates, I will definitely keep everyone in the loop. That's all I got for now. Thanks.
Councilmember Witkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I just wanted to echo what Councilmember Goff and John Algie had to say about our neighbors in Boulder. My thoughts and condolences with them. Really tragic and really sad watching that unfold today. I attended 2 meetings since our last city council meeting. On March 9th was Historic Preservation Commission, and we continue to work on the strategic plan, vision statement, prioritizing the action items over the next few years. But they're really starting to get a great working document, and I think it's going to be really impressive when they're all done with that. I just wanted to send a huge thank you to Sarah in the planning department. She's got a lot of patience and she really facilitates the conversation well, and she's put a lot of work into this. So I just wanted to make sure I pass that along. And then on March 11th, I attended the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. And one item we talked about was the changing of the name of the Parsons Theater, which we will be discussing this evening. We also looked at the park vending application to incorporate some COVID revisions. And so anyone interested in submitting an application for vending, that's open right now. And then also, I just wanted to give heads up that they will be coming to council soon with some recommendations and improvements for the Croak Reservoir. So that'll be part of a study session in May, I believe. Actually, I believe that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Nothing to report. Ashley and I have a ward meeting on April 15th that we're looking forward to, virtual ward meeting. And we'll be talking about city's responses to the homeless issue in our community, as well as community services that are being provided with certain things open and certain limitations continuing. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of updates from me this evening. Since our last regular meeting, Councilmember Esquivel and I did host a ward meeting virtually. We had just over, I think, like 10 plus folks on the call. I looked at the initial number of folks and we were at 16 and I was really excited. And then I counted the number of staff and there are almost as many staff as there were residents. But I just want to say thank you to all of the residents that joined, as well as all of the staff that made it possible. There were a lot of really great questions asked, and the topics that we covered were just updates on what we're doing around homeless, around supporting our homeless neighbors, as well as tips to save energy as well as money during the cold season. I apologize. I have a really pesky puppy who thinks he's in charge of our house. And who knows, he might be. One of the follow-up questions that I received from an individual who joined our ward meeting was a question about the listening session that the DICE committee is holding. And they were just curious if there's going to be any sort of Spanish translation. So I guess I see Rupa just popped on video, so maybe you want to answer that, Rupa.
Yeah, so the Spanish translation, we're going to be using the Equity Project's Zoom platform. And on that platform, so for example, if I'm a Spanish speaker, I would join the same link as everybody else, but I have the option of choosing a Spanish audio room. So everything that the presentation, everything that Monica with Equity Project is going to be presenting is going to be translated live into Spanish. And then I'm also working on getting a live Spanish translated on our end to provide the question and answer dialogue in Spanish for those that need it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that update. I really appreciate it, Rupa. Okay, next on the Colorado Communities for Climate Action. Listen. Colorado Communities for Climate Action. I'm so sorry. Policy Committee. Okay, you're out. Come on, get out. Get out, go. Get out, go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so on the Colorado Communities for Climate Action Policy Committee, we have started having conversations about any policy updates that the group would like to make in preparation for 2022. So if you have any questions or would like to see anything else included in the policy statement, please let me know sooner rather than later. We do aim to review and approve the policy statement every year as a group, typically in June. And so this is our opportunity to make our voice heard if there's anything else we want to see included. And as a reminder, we do work on unanimous consent. And so if there's something also that you object to or don't like in the policy committee, our policy statement, let's have a conversation about that. A couple more updates. One is I got my first COVID shot on Thursday, and it was like the experience was really exciting. I felt a lot of hope, like there's finally an end in sight to this pandemic that we've all been dealing with for the last year. And I also felt like somebody had punched me with brass knuckles. So there's that, but really thankful for all of the work that folks are doing to make sure that we can vaccinate as many Coloradans as possible. And I just wanted to note that a new phase did open up last Friday. It's 1B.4. And if you are wondering of whether or not you qualify for that phase, you can go to covid19.colorado.gov. And then the last thing I wanted to note is a number of council members have expressed concerning condolences for what happened in Boulder this afternoon. And I want to add my voice to that chorus. My husband is a grad student at CU Boulder and was on campus when all of that was happening. And my heart certainly stopped. And I just really hate the reality that we're living in when people choose to use guns instead of having conversations to deal with their situations. The other thing that I wanted to uplift is that last week there were murders in Georgia, and I just wanted to express my condolences there. The murders were perpetrated by a white domestic terrorist. They were hate crimes, and while the pandemic's absolutely exacerbated anti-Asian sentiment, unfortunately, it's not a new thing in the United States. And I think it's really important that we all stand in solidarity and do our part to combat anti-Asian rhetoric and racism, because we do have an Asian community here in Northglenn. And to all of our residents within the AAPI community, we see you, we stand with you. And for those of you looking for ways to support the community, a couple of tips include, checking in with your AAPI friends and family, supporting local Asian American owned small businesses, donating or volunteering with local AAPI support organizations, or even calling your legislators both at the federal level as well as at the state level and asking them what they're doing for the Asian community, because it's going to take all of us to stop devastating hate crimes like what we saw last week. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And going last makes it a little weird because it's not very, authentic just to say ditto on all of those sentiments. But I think council members have really raised some important concerns and reasons for us to be really pensive and concerned about our residents and our community members. So definitely my hearts and prayers are with all of those in the community that are suffering right now. And it's a hard day. It's a really hard day. There are some bright spots. I don't want to double down on some of the committees that I was also attending that other council members were at. But I did want to elevate the regional convening on homelessness was an important meeting. It was filled with really practical, actionable strategies, and it was very exciting. So I echo Councilmember Mullica's hope, because it was very, I was impressed. I was impressed more because it was a data-driven process, and it's not just like throwing ideas into the wind. It's very focused. And so, I think the biggest sort of the theme for me this week has been regional partnerships, and the idea that Northglenn is a small city in the metro area, and we rely on our neighbors and we rely on our partners to get things done and to have a big impact. We know that homeless individuals do not just stay within our city limits. And so this is a shared collective and a shared interest that we have. So I did officially sign the pledge to regional coordination on homelessness. Now, while that is just a signing of a pledge, what it does is it shows my commitment to ensure that we maintain that regional view and that regional partnership in order to take action that's important. The other piece, I was on the inline conversation today, and while the inline continues to be, a challenging thing for us and for our residents, I'm not happy that the fares are increasing, but I'm more unhappy about the fact that the fares don't seem to be correct. And so we're going to continue to push the conversation. And it was a pleasant conversation with the new RTD director, and I did enjoy listening to her perspective. She hasn't been on the job more than 5 months, but she has a vision that made me feel a little calmer. Past workings with RTD has been a little frustrating. So I was more hopeful listening to the new director today. But that's another situation where partnering with our neighbors is key. We can't make a decision by ourselves. We have to work with Thornton on this. And so I was very pleased to know that they feel the same. So we will continue that. And another piece of regional partnership that I have been really, really proud of and actually really hopeful is I have partnered with Safeway Pharmacy, and they have been giving specifically Northglenn 100 vaccination appointments per week. And we got 100 a couple weeks ago, and we needed to target people that were missed. So who was over 65 that still could not access an appointment easily. We helped individuals in that category. We reached out to our grocery workers. So Safeway was covered. They did their own, but we reached out specifically. So thank you to Debbie Tuttle, to our Save-A-Lot and our other smaller grocers, and I think natural grocers. And so, we targeted our employees and our businesses that were struggling, those individuals that were having a hard time. And this week, when the phase 1B4 opened, we were able to really do something that I've been fighting for a while, is to support our city staff. We have wastewater plant workers that we were having a hard time prioritizing, and we were able to get them vaccinated this week. And it was a huge relief to them, and it's a huge relief to me, knowing that our city staff, if they want to be vaccinated, they can. And so we are going to continue to use this very small, it is very small in the big scheme of things, 100 vaccinations per week, but we want to reach out to individuals that have been trying, because I know, I was blessed because a friend of mine stayed up all night and found me a vaccination appointment. And we want to be that hope for other people. So if there are residents, if we have any senior citizens that have still not been vaccinated, we need you to call the city and come forward, and we will make sure that happens within the week. It's very important that our individuals that are at the most risk are getting those appointments available to them. So we were able to find residents that had 2 or more significant health conditions. They were on a Kaiser wait list forever, and we were able to get them in. So it is a very targeted group of vaccination appointments, but we're really wanting to help as many people as we can. But there are also other opportunities. Tri-County Health is partnering with the city. And if you haven't seen it already on all the social media pages, Dick's Sporting Goods is opening, not Dick's Sporting Goods, to go buy tennis shoes, get a free vaccine. No, that's not what I meant. Dick's Sporting Goods Park, way out in Commerce City, is hosting large drive-through vaccination clinics. And so you just need, if you Google it, you'll find it. But it's definitely on all of our city social media pages. And here's a weird thing I saw today, speaking of vaccinations, because I do really want to laminate my little vaccination card. But Krispy Kreme donuts, this is a little weird announcement that goes with it. But if you are fully vaccinated and you take your card to Krispy Kreme, you can get a free donut every day through the end of 2021. So that's just something to know. I think there are some people that are going to take advantage of that for sure, but I saw that today. And then I also, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but just another shout out to my book study partners. I met with our, she has a fancier title than this, but our director of HR, chief of something. She's a cooler title, but anyway.
Chief Diversity Officer, our first Chief Diversity Officer.
Diversity Officer. She was my book study partner, Tamara Dixon, for chapter 4. And wow, this book is really, it's good, and it's getting good. So And I also get to meet with Brooke this week, and I'm looking forward to that. So this book study has really blessed my life, and I've really enjoyed the opportunity to talk to city staff and engage in this way. So that's been an added bonus. That was a lot. And so I appreciate your time and your listening to all that. We are now going to move into, I think everyone else covered committees, but we have the Legislative Policy Committee update now. So I'll hand it back over to Councilmember Mulligan.
So I'm going to kick this off here. So thank you, Mayor. The Legislative Committee was joined by the rest of Council this evening to have a very robust conversation pertaining to Senate Bill 62, which is titled Concerning Measures to Reduce Jail Populations. So we started the conversation off this evening discussing and reclarifying the process that the Legislative Committee undertakes when taking positions on pieces of legislation on behalf of the city. Just for clarification for the community, Mayor Pro Tem Wilford, Councilmember Peterson, Councilmember Goff, and myself are the sitting members of the committee. But of course, the meetings and discussions are always open to other members of council and the public. So it was great to have a lot of faces at the committee meeting tonight. So we use the council approved legislative guide as a framework for our decisions and legislative work we do alongside our lobbyists that we've hired. Our first item on the agenda was a discussion of process, specifically the process for staff to sign letters or take positions on legislative issues. This is, of course, in light of the letter that Chief May signed in opposition to Senate Bill 62. Council did decide that a further study session would be appropriate to fully discuss and hash out the process of staff to engage in legislative processes on behalf of the city, and then also to how do we include other voices and committees such as like the DICE committee involved in our legislative process. So the public can look forward to a study session to continue that conversation. So the next item on the agenda was the discussion of Senate Bill 62. We started with an introduction from our lobby team, and then we allowed Chief May to provide his perspective and welcome questions from council. It was a really robust conversation of questions and answers, and I'm going to be really honest, I was not able to write down every single question that everybody asked. And so I do want to clarify something real quick. Because of the nature of this bill, it doesn't fit within the context of our legislative guide. So if the city would like to take a position on this bill, the entire council would need to vote on it. So we could choose to not take a position. We could stay neutral. We could support or oppose the bill. That's up to council to decide tonight. But I do want to hand this conversation back over to the mayor to see if there are any further comments from council and entertain a motion if there is one. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for that summary. That was very helpful. Yeah, so I think the first item is, do we or do we not want to take a position? Does anyone want to discuss that further? Because I think that's sort of where we left off. Councilmember Peterson?
Thanks, Mayor. And thinking about this, and this is one that I think I would personally like to take a position on. Under this bill, felonies that are classed as 4, 5, or 6, the perpetrator is not arrested. They are given a summons, a ticket. Class 4, Class 5, and Class 6 felonies include motor vehicle theft, vehicular homicide, burglary, and breaking into vehicles. I have an awful hard time as residents are expressing to me their concern for property crimes, rising crimes. You see it everywhere on Nextdoor. You see the frustration on Facebook and the people that have reached out to me directly. When we heard tonight from Chief May, there was an awful lot of information about a tough and radical increase in property crimes. Mayor, I want less crime victims in Northglenn, not more. And I cannot sit in good conscience and be neutral on something that compromises the public safety of our residents. And so I believe we should take a stand, and for those reasons, my stand would be to oppose this bill. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I did speak quite a bit earlier, but I just would like to give a somewhat balanced perspective on this, because it is important to balance public safety, but we need to balance that with equitable treatment of people who could be arrested and put in jail for an unknown amount of time. And some of these people who, once they got to trial, could be found innocent. So it does disrupt lives. And as we've heard over and over again, the statistics show that people of color are disproportionately the ones who are arrested and put in jail. So that's the other side of this. The other thing that it was pointed out and discussed at length is that this bill as proposed does give the arresting officer a way to arrest and jail a person who is a threat to public safety. It's kind of putting a burden on that officer to make that decision at that time, and probably includes like extra paperwork and all this other kind of stuff, and they're already very overworked. So if we were going to take a position on this bill, I would propose that we take something along the lines of to support it with amendments, or to oppose it unless amended, something along that line. I think there's still some things that could be worked out to include the concerns that Chief May and the other police officers have raised, and that would end up with something that would be fair for more people and also safe. Address public safety, that is.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Sorry. So I have read up on the bill, and I would definitely be opposed to backing it for many of the same reasons that Randall had spoke about earlier. One of my biggest concerns is the summons process and getting basically three chances to miss court before anything can be done. Most of my neighbors over here in Ward 2, I feel that they would also oppose it. And the reason is that our crime rate over here in Ward 2 has escalated to a point where it is intolerable. It is an everyday thing. Ever since the end line opened, the crime along 112th Avenue has increased. And I wanted to ask Chief if we could get some numbers on that, because it has increased to a crazy level. Having experienced theft personally here in Northglenn, and knowing others that have experienced catalytic converters being stolen from their cars and things like that, I prefer to side on the side of public safety. I know that there were a lot of changes made during COVID on how we handled crimes, but this is not COVID. This is moving forward for our future. So I would be against supporting it. Much like Councilmember Goff said, if there were amendments made to it, I may change my mind later down the road, and I think we have every right to do that. But at this time, I'm definitely opposed to that.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the discussion that we had during the legislative committee meeting, as well as the one that we're having now. I think, from my perspective, I would really like some more time, and would really like for us to not take a position right now. I feel like we have heard from the chief, but we haven't, heard any other sides to this bill. We don't have any suggestions for amendments that are plausible or feasible at this point. And I think we need some more time to have a discussion about, if we wanted amendments, what they could look like right now, because I'm really concerned, to Councilmember Goff's point about the equity component of this particular piece of legislation, or of taking a position on this legislation. And I am also really stuck on the fact that if this bill passes under current COVID, I guess, direction, folks that are, accused of a crime are going to continue to be processed and then set out on their, left to their own devices anyway. And so I don't understand why it's so important to take a position on this bill right this moment, before we have an opportunity to gather all of the data and continue the discussion. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
Councilmember Witkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I would agree with Mayor Pro Tem about not taking a position, not necessarily for the reason that I need more information, but I think we talked about in legislative committee how this doesn't really fall within our policy, our legislative policy guide, or I forget the wording, but I think that there are very important issues in this bill. Probably most important being the equity, but I don't like how it combines, the bail situation and the public safety, the threat to our public safety. So I don't, I really appreciated what the chief had to say, and I've been thinking about this, but I don't think that this is a bill that we should be taking a position on.
Councilmember Malika.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually second Ashley's perspective, because I think that I took a lot of time to think about this bill and to have conversations with Chief, but also have conversations with Judge Bailhash, and we had a great candid conversation about this bill. And I'm going to be real honest. I feel like there's just so much more that I need to work out to figure out where I stand on this bill. And so, like I said in my report out, putting the letter aside that Chief, this council has the ability right now to decide how we're going to move forward, regardless of what, Chief decided to put out. So I want to follow in, I guess, Ashley's recommendation, or maybe it was Jenny's recommendation, whoever recommended it. I think that could be the best approach moving forward for this council.
Councilmember Downing.
Yes, I was just unmuting. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've read the synopsis of the bill, and I have listened to the arguments of equity back and forth. And I'm feeling that you could have the same argument for the victim's portion as well as the perpetrator. So that argument really didn't balance for me, because you could just have a different name to it. But, I think the police organization and the sheriffs, they have done a lot of work, with their lobbying. They've done a lot of digging into the bill. But at this point, I'm feeling that even though I support what the chief has done, I think he did the right thing at the time, and I support everything he is doing. But I would say at this point we take no position on the bill, and we can always amend our decision later on if we want to. But I'm just not feeling comfortable of opposing it right now. But I would not support a support position. I wouldn't support it. I'm looking at Julie's like, what is she saying?
That made sense to me.
Okay.
I was trying to get it straight. I was like, I would not support number 6.
I would not support a support position.
Councilmember Esquivel, did you want to weigh in?
I will now that you called on me, because my constituents are watching, I'm sure. And I don't have anything new to say than what I said in the legislative meeting. Basically, I would take a position of oppose. And I know that a lot of you know my history. A lot of you maybe get tired of hearing my war stories, but these are real life experiences. I was a magistrate judge in Las Vegas, New Mexico, appointed by Governor Johnson in 1996. I think it was 6, maybe it was 5. And the magistrate's role in New Mexico is to try misdemeanors, much like it is in our municipal court. And drunk driving in New Mexico was a misdemeanor. Unfortunately, this gentleman had several drunk driving charges. I can't even remember how many there was, but there was more than 6. And he hired an attorney, and he came before me, and we discussed his situation. He had a family, he had a job, he was never going to do this again. He learned his lesson. He would serve out his 6-month jail sentence on work release. And being the compassionate person that I am, I said, that sounds like a great idea. I will allow you to do work release. You report to the jail by 6 p.m. every night, and you can sign out every morning at 6 a.m. And you can serve your 6 months that way. I don't think it was 2 or 3 weeks later that he was before me in court again. And I asked him, what are you doing here? He said, well, I got picked up for drunk driving. The truth was that he drove himself to the jail drunk, and they arrested him there. So, it goes back to learning behavior and changing behavior. And I don't see felony theft. I don't see vehicular homicide as something that is just a show up in court kind of thing. You kill somebody and you're going to allow somebody to just show up in court tomorrow? No, I'm going to Chihuahua or Canada or Brussels or somebody who doesn't have extradition rights, because I'm facing a serious charge. I don't believe in that. So I'm opposed. I may consider changing that to no position, but at this time I'm opposed.
Thank you. So as I listened to the legislative committee discussion, and I appreciated Chief's presentation with some perspective on why he made the decision he made, and listening to council right now, I'm not hearing a ton of support to make a decision as a council. I'm hearing some opposed, but I'm hearing more no position. And I had raised that at the end of the Ledge Committee because my question was, we were anchoring back to our legislative policy book. And this specific piece of legislation does not fit neatly within it. And so taking a position is not required. I am a little concerned about the public discourse that I have been seeing all over the place, because it seems like there's a black and white line, and it is, if you support our police department, you are racist. And that has been in place, I don't know, for a handful of months. And it's coming back up with this Senate bill. And it's, if you oppose it, you're a racist. If you are for it, then you're for progress and all of the things. What we talked about in the legislative committee are all the organizations that are either not willing to support it without amendments, or all the organizations that are opposing it as written. And I think that's my concern. I think there's too many pieces that need to be fixed within it for me. So I'm sort of agreeing with Joyce. I do not support supporting it as it's written. And I believe that it's not in our best interest as a city to take a stand on it as it's written. I don't think it's complete enough, and we don't have enough answers. There's a lot of, but maybe I'd like it if, or maybe I wouldn't like it if. And I don't necessarily know that it's our job. I think we have state legislators that were elected to do that work. And I don't think it's up to us to fix their bill for them. But I did want to say publicly that I do believe that Chief made a good call based on his role in our city and his years of practice in law enforcement. I do not have that job. I do not have that background. And he's working with his colleagues, and he made the best decision. He did not make that on behalf of the city. The city's logo was not on his letter. But I support that he made that opposition statement from his seat. And I feel that that was fair. But I would go back to no position. And it seems like the majority of us are in the no position place. And so I think that's where we will land for this evening. And we can move into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Motion to approve.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighty,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
I'd like some clarification, please. Are we voting to
Approve
not
the
take
consent agenda.
yes. Got a little lost there. Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel.
Yes.
I will close that vote and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into public hearings, CB 1969. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for a special ordinance amending the 2021 budget, recognizing revenues and appropriating expenditures by supplemental appropriation for the payment of the costs and expenses of the municipal government, agencies, and offices of the City of Northland, Colorado for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2021.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1969. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak either for or against CB 1969? Joanna, were there any comments received prior to the meeting?
No, there were not.
Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Ordinances on second reading. So CB 1969, we have heard the title, Supplemental Appropriation and CIP Carryover. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, our Director of Finance, Jason Loveland, is here to provide a summary and answer any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My connection's a little slow, so if I'm cutting out, I apologize. So CB 1969, as we stated, is the majority of the $7 million of expenditures that's being added to the budget is capital projects from prior years that are being rolled over, as the projects are typically multi-year projects. And you have detail of that in the memo. And then there's a handful of one-time projects for software upgrades and an equity initiative that were started in 2020 that didn't finish, that we have agreements with that will wrap up in 2021. So that is all that I have for an update. If there's any questions about the details, I'm happy to answer those.
All right, I don't see anything. Thank you very much. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighty,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel.
Yes.
I will close that vote and CB 1969 on second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. All right, resolution CR 15. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a letter of agreement between the city and the Westminster 710 Rotary Club regarding the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, City Manager Geyer and Assistant to the City Manager Rupa Venkatesh are here to provide a summary. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Council. Rupa's going to get us started and I'll jump in and we'll get you up to speed on the progress that we've made based on Council direction when we last discussed this item. Rupa?
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. And I actually do not have a PowerPoint tonight, so this is very new to me. So as City Manager Geyer mentioned, this is a follow-up from the January 4th council meeting where Westminster 710 Rotary Club presented to council their request for council to contribute funding to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Per direction from council at that meeting, staff spoke with Rocky Mountain Partnership to determine how we can best meet the outcome requirements that council had wanted. And from those discussions, Rocky Mountain Partnership had recommended measuring outputs through pre and post surveys. So those outputs would ideally measure richer home literacy environments and improving attitudes and literacy skills. So those are two things that can be measured through pre and post surveys. Rocky Mountain Partnership did connect us with ECPAC, or the Early Childhood Partnership of Adams County, to see if they'd be willing to administer the survey. However, so they were willing to do that, but when we spoke again with the Rotary Club, they shared that it's not really that easy to share their data with outside entities and that they would be willing to administer the pre and post surveys. And the Rotary Club already administers post surveys. So they're going to work on also doing pre and post surveys, which I think will help them also meet data requirements for any future grants. So they did agree to do that. However, we're going to reassess this for next year. So the $5,000, if CR 15 is approved, will come from general funds, but it's not going to be an automatic funding that will be approved without City Council approving it next year. And we'll have the Rotary Club come before that, or when that funding request is made for next year, we'll have Rotary Club come to share data. And at that point, City Council can consider additional funding requests as we move forward with this program, if Council still wants to move forward with the program. So we consider this year with the $5,000, if CR 15 is approved, to be a pilot program to assess how we can measure outcomes with the Rotary Club administering these pre and post surveys. And Heather, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Thanks, Rupa. I think you did an excellent job providing the summary. And I would just say that Roger with the Rotary Club's been very collaborative in terms of working with us and trying to figure out how we can come up with some type of quantitative as well as qualitative measurement aspect to this pilot program. So, I appreciate the direction from council. I think we've made headway and recommend your support and approval of this request tonight. And as Rupa mentioned, definitely will evaluate and provide council with guidance when it comes to budget 2022 season, which is just around the corner, and give you guidance on, if we're seeing the desired outcomes that we'd hope to see.
Councilmember Mullica?
Yes. So I really, I'm okay with moving forward as like a pilot to see how this goes. It would be great if we could get some data around here on this topic for reconsideration moving forward. One of the things that I think, we could really think about as a council moving forward, if early literacy is, really a priority that we want to continue with next year, and, depending on how this program gets initiated or not, how it runs, what kind of feedback we get, we could think about some other options to kind of target literacy in our community. I know personally, I have a mom. I'm a mom of a child who struggles with reading significantly. Adams 12 does not have enough reading specialists for their kids. I'm just going to say it right there. We do not have enough reading specialists. And to be honest, there's so many kids on their list that have already been identified as students who need help with reading that they cannot help because we don't have enough reading specialists in the community. So I am okay with moving forward and seeing how this program goes. We do want to target that early literacy, but we do have, our young kids who have already been seeing issues that we know are on a problem list that our school district can address. So I don't know if that belongs with the city to move forward with, but there's lots of literacy initiatives that this council could take on moving forward. So thank you.
Does anyone else want to weigh in?
I would just comment that I really think anytime we can put a book in a child's hand, we're one step forward. And so I definitely support something like this. I hear what Councilwoman Malika is saying, but I think that if we take a step forward, it's going to help some child somewhere down the line. And also it'll help the parents have access to some of the books. So I definitely support this.
All right, Joanna, will you call the vote?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 15 passes unanimously.
All right, CR 34. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the cities of Thornton, Federal Heights, and Northglenn for the drafting, funding, and adoption of a local natural hazard mitigation plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, our Director of Planning and Development is here. Welcome, Brooke. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a every 3 to 4 year update of our hazard mitigation plan for purposes of increasing our eligibility for potential disaster relief through FEMA. One of the things is that before 2017, this was actually an exercise that Dr. Cog provided to all the communities in their service area. And due to funding constraints, that changed to where the individual municipalities and counties were responsible for doing this themselves. And as a result, the state brought forward grant programs through FEMA for the local jurisdictions to sort of partner and collaborate and put together these hazard mitigation plans. So we did this back in 2017 with the same partners. We're proposing to do it again. Our pro rata share for this exercise is $3,500. It's based on population, and staff is recommending approval of the resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 34 passes unanimously.
All right, thanks, Brooke. CR 35. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution approving addendum number 1 to the professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Hazen and Sawyer for final design, permitting, and bidding services for the water treatment plant solids handling improvements project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got it. Looks like Kent's iPad is here. Director of Public Works to provide a summary of the item. Welcome, Kent.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. So the water treatment plant solids handling improvement project, those are the ponds that you can see as you drive along 112th at the water plant. And if you can recall, when we brought the original agreement from Hazen and Sawyer to you, I shared a video of that machine that took that dirty water and compressed all the water out and made a waste brick. So that's what this project is. Phase 2 of the project is to complete the final design, submit the permits to the state for approval, and get the documents prepared for bidding the project. We hope that all that is done by the end of this year and construction can begin in early 2022. When this project is complete, it will save an estimated 40 to 60 million gallons of water per year. And staff recommends approval of the proposed addendum as provided. And I'll answer any questions.
I don't see any questions, Kent. Thank you so much for your presentation. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I'll close that vote, and CR 35 passes unanimously.
All right, CR 36. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution modifying the name of the D.L. Parsons Theater to the Parsons Theater.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Amanda Peterson is here, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services, to provide a summary. This one seems straightforward.
I hope so. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in 2002, the theater was named after former Mayor Don Parsons. Through a resolution, the theater was named the D.L. Parsons Theater. As we're transitioning to a new space and with the full support of the Parsons family, the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation, and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, staff's bringing forward a proposal to modify the name from the D.L. Parsons Theater to simply the Parsons Theater. The proposed modification to the name continues to honor former Mayor Don Parsons while providing a new, modern, and easily branded name that would go into effect with the opening of the new facility. And staff recommends approval of the proposed resolution.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking we were going to get too much pushback on that. Councilmember Escobar.
My question is simple. Why? Why would you drop his name from the theater to make it a family theater? Even though the family wrote a letter, they wrote it based on somebody's recommendation. It doesn't say we, the family, asked that you change the name. Someone came up with the idea and they said, oh, okay, that'd be fine. We can make it the family. I know I would want my initials dropped from my name and name the theater after me. So I don't understand why. I think we should continue to honor the former mayor as D.L. Parson. He wasn't just a Parson. He was D.L. Parson. He had a name. And I think we should continue with that name. And that's my position. Thank you so much.
Amanda, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
And it looked like Councilmember Downing may have been wanting to respond as well. I'll just share that the letter so Jill Parsons, who is the daughter, one of the daughters of former Mayor Don Parsons, also serves on the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation, so has been a very active part of this conversation. And my understanding is that the request came forward through a conversation with the Arts and Humanities Foundation that included Jill Parsons. And the proposed modification is not intended to change who the theater is honoring. It's still intended to honor former Mayor Parsons. But some of the comments, as you saw in the letter, were DL was used as his formal initials in writing, but in person he went by Don Parsons, and the family felt that it would be appropriate at this time to shorten that name to simply the Parsons Theater, both as they recognized their family member, but also as a piece of marketing, as how we're referencing the theater, and a simpler branding as we move forward into a new modern space.
Councilmember Downing, did you want to piggyback on that?
I was just going to actually say that the Parsons family did come together and propose this change to the Arts and Humanities Foundation and the Parks Board. So, I couldn't have said it more eloquently, Amanda, than you did. So they are very much supportive. They were the ones that actually brought the suggestion forward.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have a sort of a clarifying question. If we are naming the theater, do the other parts of the building have separate names, or could possibly have a separate name? For example, the senior center or the rec center. Are those still considered as separate entities?
Okay.
Our parks naming or parks and facility naming policy does allow for individual components within a park facility to be named, not necessarily just it doesn't have to be a single name for the entire space. So in this case, only the theater is named after former Mayor Don Parsons. We don't have any other facility within the recreation center named after an individual at this point in time.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So Amanda, can we propose that one of the lobby couches be the A.B. Escabel couch?
There would be a process for that, but absolutely.
I'm just teasing you, Councilmember Brown.
I think I have well, here's my question. As we go through history, and nobody's going to know walking in there who Don Parsons is, in 10 years, 15 years, not everybody's going to know that. So is it possible to do a plaque or something, explaining? I hate the fact that we're taking his name specifically off the theater. I really do hate that. But I would be for it if we could do some kind of plaque that recognizes him or something at the entrance of the theater. Because basically we're doing this all for marketing. So it's easier for us for marketing. I'm very much against, for lack of a better word, well, here I found one, erasing the history of the building. It was named after him, and I want him to be recognized one way or another.
So there are two plaques. One is the existing plaque that dedicates the space to former Mayor Parsons, and we would propose still bringing that plaque with us to the new space. The second is the dedication plaque for the new theater. I know that Michael has been working on the language that'll go on that plaque, and I can certainly have a conversation with Michael and the foundation about recognizing former Mayor Parsons by his full name in narrative on that plaque.
I am not for changing the name on it. But if I can get some concessions, then I might be.
Amanda, will there be a photo with the plaque or no? Does the current plaque have a photo?
I don't believe it does. And the new plaque is a bronze plaque. So most not intended to have a photo at this point.
So is this a decision that is like the committees or?
The naming or the photo?
The recognition.
And not having been at all those conversations with the foundation, I would ask if Councilmember Downing, just having been involved in those conversations, I believe that the NHF would be open to placing a statement on the dedication plaque identifying former Mayor Parsons by his full name. Have you heard anything different in your conversation?
I have not heard, they haven't gone into depth concerning something like that. So, but I'm sure they would be open to the conversation. And I know in all respect to the family also, I understand, as I heard some of the conversations going on, Mayor Parsons really was never referred to as DL, and so it was just, I think that was part of the naming process, and they didn't have a lot of input at that point when it was done, so I don't know if Mayor Parsons did it. I mean, I just don't know, but I'm sure that they would be open to a conversation.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns before we vote? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Don't feel like I got any kind of guarantee that those concessions would be made. I'm going to go on the record that I want to see his name spelled out. I want recognition for him. So at that point, I am opposed to changing the name until I can hear what we're going to do and have some comfort that we are going to still recognize him. So I am against no.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Because I can't abstain, no.
I will close that vote, and CR 36 passes with 2 no votes cast by Council members Brown and Escobar.
Okay, thank you very much. Amanda is going to stick with us because we have a presentation I'm going to pull up. Give me just a minute. The Northglenn Civic Center Phase 1 Implementation March Updates.
And I'll jump in with some narrative first as you're pulling up the presentation, and there we go. So I love that I'm able to start each of these with, we continue to move forward on schedule. I think I may have left you for a moment there. I will back up a little bit. So we continue to move forward with the project on schedule and on budget, which is always a great start. The installation of the theater rigging has begun, and that photo you see there in front of you is actually sitting in the audience or the house of the theater looking towards the stage. So that rigging is going up kind of behind the scenes there. Tile work is being finished in the hallways and the restrooms on the southern half of the building, and the large windows in the fitness area that overlook Festival Lawn have been installed, and basketball hoops are being put in the gym. We are moving forward with the larger of the solar arrays in the memo. We hadn't made a final recommendation on that yet. So that has been approved here over the last couple of weeks. So FCI is working with the vendor to complete the contract with their subs so that they're able to move forward. At the April 12th meeting here in another few weeks, we anticipate bringing forward to you a furniture contract for consideration, as well as a contract amendment to the existing agreement we have with VTI, and they're the vendor that is providing our building security. We did not include any contingency in their original contract and have several additions to enhance the security of the building that we would like to add. That additional expense fits well within the overall project contingency. We just can't move forward without a council approved contingency specific to their contract. So as requested last month, I have included a few photos of the space. These are a couple of weeks old now, just as they were prepared for the packet. As Mayor Lighter scrolls down, you can see the theater and senior center entrance. So this will be the entryway that lit sculpture. You'll actually be able to see through those large windows on top once it's complete. This photo is of the community room standing in the corner near the catering kitchen, looking out into that space that ultimately can seat up to 240 people as one large room, or you can see where the divider walls are coming into place to divide it into 3 smaller rooms. You can scroll down a little more. A little preview of some of the tiles and drywall and paint that is going in again on the south side of the building. You can move into the gymnasium and you can see the running track to the left. You can see that gradient pattern on the wall in the block behind you. And they're using this space as a staging area for some of the materials that are going in throughout the rest of the building. You can scroll down. This is upstairs where the fitness area will be. So you're actually looking out through those windows that were recently installed. The plastic was still up on this photo, but those windows overlook the festival lawn. You can scroll again.
I'm trying. Nothing's moving.
Got the last one?
No, it just won't move. Oh, it is the last one.
That would be why. Sorry about that.
I'm trying. Nothing's going.
Well, the good news is you'll get to see a lot more. We were able to get tours scheduled. So I know many of you have already reserved a spot, but we have scheduled facility tours for Monday, April 5th. And the spaces that I reserved specifically for City Council are a little earlier so that you're able to hopefully wrap those up prior to your study session that evening. We're going to handle that similar to the way we did the topping out with small group tours starting every 30 minutes throughout the afternoon and early evening. So we can rotate everybody through, give you an opportunity to talk with the FCI staff as well as some of our own staff and see all of the space. We anticipate the full tour to take you right about an hour to make your way through the entire building. So if you haven't signed up for a spot yet, please contact Susan Baca and she'd be happy to reserve a time for you. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
It looks amazing. Like, I got so excited when I saw the paint and the floor and I was like, yes.
Fun to see those details start to actually show up in the building. You know, so we've been looking at infrastructure for so long, which is exciting in and of itself, but it's not the same as seeing all the finishes and the things that people actually see when they walk in the front doors. So it's exciting.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. I hope I see everybody out there on April 5th.
All right. Lift Station A, Force Main A replacement update. Kent is back. I think he brought his iPad. Yep, he did.
Good evening. Everybody gets just as excited when the pipe starts going in the ground as you are of the new rec center.
We're going to be excited, Kent, when it comes down Irma Drive.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
got lots of things to talk about, Kent.
Yes. So this is the first update of our $26 million force main and lift station project. Phelan Construction will be completing the work on the lift station. Mobilization has begun, and you can see the schedule was in the attachments. And the lift station work will have minimal impacts to the community, as the construction will be on the site where the existing lift station is now. So there's kind of the look ahead schedule, and you'll see that they're clearing and grubbing and setting up the fence and doing those types of things. And all that stuff is off of 112th. Mayor, if you can go to the map, skip the next one.
Could I ask a question quickly?
Sure.
What are the colors on your schedule do they mean anything?
No, it's just their blocks, different blocks.
Okay, thank you.
Red is critical path. So if you don't hit the red marks, then you're delayed.
I'm not sure. So it does mean something. Could you say a little bit more? What do you mean delayed?
Yes. So if the red part is a critical path, and so if we don't make the red lines, those are then there could be a delay in the project. So those are kind of your major parts of the project.
Okay. Thank you.
And then BT Construction will be installing the force main, and they have 2 storage locations. One is located at the M&O facility, and the other will be at the JC ball fields where the recycling dumpsters used to be. We just removed those last week. And they've ordered all the pipe for the entire project because of the storms down in Texas. The price of PVC was really escalating, so they purchased all the pipe, and it's all on order and being delivered. So we'll be storing the majority of that at M&O. BT will have 2 crews. One crew will be working on the arterials, which will include the Irma and Leroy north to 112th, the 120th Avenue portion, Ray Street, and then through the M&O facility. And then the final tie-in point is up on Claude Court. The second crew will be focused on the residential portion of Irma, and the work around the school will be done during the summer, so there won't be any impacts to the school. Our staff, BT, and the communications department in Northglenn, we've already been completing several outreach opportunities to the community. There's been articles in the Connection. There was a front page article in I believe, this month's Connection. The information is on our front page of our website and all of our other social media outlets. The public meeting was held on March 15th, and there's a dedicated website for the project itself, which will be updated as we go along. In the residential areas, as construction begins, all businesses and residents will probably have message boards at either end of the residential area notifying of when work is coming. And all residents will get a door tag at least 48 hours prior to any work beginning in their area. And we'll continue to push out the notifications and progress on all the outlets that we have. And when we just had the pre-con meeting last week with BT. And so when we get their construction schedule, then we'll post that and update that as well. So this is a huge project, and we know there's going to be impacts to, mainly the residents along Irma. But, we're going to do our very best to push that information out and let folks know ahead of time, and keep equipment and materials, stored where they need to go. And, the project is supposed to be completed in January of 2022. And I'll answer any questions.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes, it is going to roll right past my neighborhood. Hey, Kent, Mike did a great job at my ward meeting last week explaining all of this. And then afterwards, Joyce and I had a conversation about making sure that we know that we have the website, we know we have this and we have that. Mike had mentioned the tags like you did before any work started. I would like to see all the homes targeted in Ward 2 for the little postcard like we do when we have a ward meeting, letting them know that it's coming up that way, because this is that's a main arterial, or is it an arterial? It's a main road for us, for the schools, for everybody. And I know you said that the work around the schools would be done afterwards, but those parents, nobody buses into those schools. Those are all individual drivers coming into the neighborhood. So any interruption on Irma is going to be a mess no matter what time of year that you do the work on it. And I'd like to see that the residents get a postcard. That's all I'm asking for, Heather, is some kind of postcard that gets mailed out to them as we come up into the residential section. From what I understood from my ward meeting last week, it would start down in the industrial area first. So I would just like to have some kind of notification. I would like to receive a notification in my mailbox when you are ready to move into the residential area. And it's an easy example to say me, but it's for all the constituents over here.
Right, and I mentioned that there's going to be 2 crews. So, one crew is going to be working already, potentially on 100. Well, I think they're actually starting up on Race and by M&O. Mm-hmm. But they'll be doing the area that's south of 112th before the residential area. So are you wanting a mass postcard for all the residential area at the time that the second crew begins? Because again, they're going to be working there for 8 months. And so yeah. I don't know that we could phase it where we break out blocks of residents and send them a mailer every 2 weeks. I don't know.
No, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for
just really quick. One mailer has been completed. And I sent you the list of who it went to and a copy of the postcard. So I really think take a look at that list. And if you don't think it's reached the area that it needs to reach, because we didn't do it by ward, because it seemed like that didn't geographically capture both sides of that street. So what they did is they did the entire length and did a certain amount of distance around the entire length of it. And that's who received the postcard. We thought doing geographic would be more impactful than just randomly doing it to a bunch of different people. Although, of course, it was on the cover of the connection. So we've hit it 3 times so far, which heavily, I believe we hit it more than that, but cover the connection for everybody. The direct mail postcard to the people directly around that street, and not just on the street. It goes past the street on both sides. And then social media, of course, and then it'll be the door tags. And then we'll have continuous updates on the website, social media, and in the connection. So I guess my ask is, can we do a mailer? The answer is absolutely. We can do another mailer, but one was done. I just need you to look at the list to see where you think we should.
That's fine. I know I didn't get one, and I'm right here. And the other thing you have to take into consideration is the fact that Malley is right there and the traffic we're going to have from the schools over on Malley too. That really is a major street. Thank God we're not going to need the traffic calming for a year. But my concern, and I shared this in my ward meeting with Mike, is that my phone is not going to stop ringing for until 2022. I want a card to go out, and I want it to go out to the residents on both sides of Irma. And I think that geographical is good because that's our main way out of here.
So I guess my question is, I need you to look at the list I sent you and let me know if your address is on it, because if your address is on it and you didn't get it, then I have to have a conversation with our contractors.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys didn't come over this way, but I will look at my address, and I'll look at a couple other people's addresses. Because once we do that, not only does it affect the people that live on Irma, it affects the people that live on 112th Place, because it's going to direct more traffic up over and around to Claude Court. So it's more than just the block around that particular street. That street has a huge impact over here. It'd be like putting a line down Huron, you know. Everybody uses that street. Everybody needs to know about it. And I know we put it in the connection, and I know that we think that everybody underneath the sun reads the connection, but they don't.
Well, more people read that than do our other platforms. However, I agree. A direct postcard, single subject to people is the best way to communicate with them. My concern is either we didn't go as far as your house, but we should have wrapped around the entire line a certain distance. And if you think we need to go further out, you know, maybe at the beginning of April, we can do a second postcard. Okay. But if you take a look at that list and kind of give us your feedback, that would be the most helpful.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I would request and ask Heather that we have another one going out in April.
Okay. I think we
and
understand
sit down and figure out the area.
Yeah, I understand what you're asking for, and we'll make sure we coordinate with the schools and make sure they push out information as much as possible to the parents so they're aware of impacts.
Thank you very much, because that's a huge portion over here. I've got 3 schools. Thank you for letting me rant.
Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Hey, Kent, couple questions. Pedestrian questions in a way. One, how is this going to affect access to the dog park on Irma? And second question is related to the dog park. You and I had talked about the city's implementation of a crosswalk there from the other side of Irma, right? So people can have access to that. And so will that be done in conjunction with this or independent of this or after the main line? And ideally, I'd love that crosswalk to go in as soon as possible. I'd hate to have it wait, almost a full year to implement that. So if you could give me an update on those 2 things, I'd be very grateful.
Yeah, great question. Again, there's 2 crews. So the one crew is going to begin up at M&O, and then once they're done with they're going to see where the next impact is. As everybody knows, we have major projects on Carl's Farm, which is Race Street, and we got to get the pipe in the ground there. And we have a major overhaul of 112th where we're widening that project, so we need to get the pipe in there as well. Irma, may be the last one to do. I don't have BT's construction schedule yet. So again, as soon as we get that, I want to share that with everybody that we can. The dog park, the staging area in the dog park should not impact anything with respect to the park, the ball fields, or any of the crossing. It's simply where the recycling bins used to be. It'll be a fenced off area. And with respect to the crossing, we do want to wait until we get the pipe in the ground before we install that, install those flashing ped lights. Now, we may be able to install the flashing pedestrian lights on either side of the sidewalk and wait until the construction or the pipe is completed in the middle, because we'll have that median or one in that auxiliary lane as well. So that one may come a little later, but right now we're not able to begin that project yet because of we're still waiting for the IGA to be completed by CDOT, and so we're pushing on them as hard as we can to get that project underway as well. But right now, we're probably still a minimum 2 months away from even beginning to talk about that project.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you following up on that. A lot of residents have expressed concern and a priority on that, and anything you can do in the short term to keep it safe and provide access for people before you put in the permanent lights would be great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Kent? I don't see any. Well, thank you for that update. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, public invited to be heard. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council at this time? You may press *6 to unmute. Okay, there is nobody there. So thank you, everyone. It was lovely to see you all. I wish you a happy sort of spring break, as next Monday is a 5th Monday. I will be journeying to Texas with all of my fully vaccinated people. So there will be no, it should be a safe journey. And if the rest of you are traveling, I wish you safe travels. And we are adjourned.
Just a quick update on Boulder. There's 10 deaths now, including 1 officer.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's very sad.
So Beck, have you said at all about what caused this whole situation?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay, yeah. We were watching it this afternoon, but anyway, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Terrible.
See you in 2 weeks.